good?
I'm ready, yeah.
So, I'm out here with my daddy. I guess if it wasn't for him, there wouldn't be no Cledus and Company. He's the one taught me how to do all the cooking I do. Watching him and watching my uncles. I come from a long line of folks that cooked. My Uncle Steve cooked, my daddy, his Uncle A.M. There's a heap of us. I guess Uncle Steve cooked more chicken than just about anybody in Walton County at one time, I'm sure. I'd hate to know the amount of chickens he's cooked. But so I want to ask you, Daddy, when did you learn how did you learn how to cook? Where did you learn to cook from?
Mostly from Uncle A.M.
Which was your daddy's brother?
Right,
My great uncle and your uncle.
right. Because I stayed with them much as I did at home, especially in the summertime. And they done a lot of cooking, especially on weekends. And then Uncle Bo got to figuring out he could cook it and sell it, because everybody was wanting some of it. So from him on down, Uncle Steve learned some stuff from him, and I learned a lot from him myself. And his boys learned, they know how.
Which would be Billy and Jimmy.
Billy and Jimmy and them, yeah.
And then Gail's boys, the grandyoung, his grandyoung, the Gaddises. They all cook, all of them cook.
We all done it together as a family thing.
And we all do it a little different. All of us don't do it exactly the same. Some, like, their mopping's a little different than our moppings. My mopping's different from Daddy's mopping. And when I say mopping, I'm talking about barbecue sauce. That's what we call mopping. We call it mopping because it's a vinegar base. The way I look at it, if it's real thick, that's barbecue sauce. If it's thin with vinegar, it's mopping. Is way I call it. But Daddy's has got a little more ketchup in mine is, but that's cause of my mama. Mama didn't like vinegar, so Daddy adapted and overcome and made his a little different. So Uncle A.M., he cooked whole hogs. He didn't just do barbecue. He didn't do like butts and hams like we do.
No.
He did and when he made stew, he made it with the whole hog too, with the head and everything.
Everything. We made it out of everything.
Yeah. He didn't put no potatoes or beans or nothing like that in it, but he put the same thing, what, corn and tomatoes.
Yeah.
And pork and beef and chicken. But he would use a whole hog, and they'd cook whole hog barbecue. I remember going out, he had a little old spot out in the middle of the yard that, I don't know, it wasn't real big and wasn't real tall either. You had to stoop over to get in there, I remember. But that's where he cooked their hogs and everything was in there. The pit was in that little old spot.
They raised the hogs or they bought them
Most
some?
of the time we buy them already about half grown.
Okay.
And feed them out.
But also, now a lot of times when they did barbecue, it wasn't hog. You know, it could be a goat or, you know, they'd have chickens, whatever he could get his hands on to barbecue. That's what they barbecued. I mean, we eat goat a lot of times because goats was, you know, you could get a goat for back then. You could get a goat $5 or $6. You know, it was cheap on goats. So, and he could, you know, folks would buy goat if it was cooked right, cause back even in them days, you know, a lot of folks didn't know how to barbecue. They knew how to cook in the house, but they didn't know nothing about cooking on a pit or barbecuing nothing big. So, and
everybody liked it. We'd have some of it, and then they finally started selling it to them. They wanted to buy it. They wanted them to put in the freezers when they first started getting freezers around, you know.
And I remember the first thing I mean, I don't know why I remember it, but Uncle A.M. didn't get but Uncle Bo, I called him Uncle Bo, but he didn't get but $2 a quart for Bernard stew.
I remember selling it for $1.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was
When was that?
That was a long time ago. I'm 50 years old, and I remember it when I was a little kid. So, I remember going out there because we'd
1980s, I guess?
Yeah, probably in the 80s.
And for then.
Yeah,
Okay.
But he'd been selling a long time before then. But.
Right.
We used to get $1.25 for a pound of meat, a pound of stew.
And Uncle Bo was a farmer. He farmed, you know, he raised vegetables, you know, peas and corn and tomatoes. he had a big old garden. He had garden all over that place out there at Pennell Road. It ain't even the same no more out there. So all houses now and pine trees used to just be fields.
If we planted a field and we run out of room to put everything we wanted to plant, they'd lease some land, and we just plant it, plow it, and plant it, and raise stuff. And then when we got it all raised and sold, we pay the people for the use of the land.
Sharecropping.
All like sharecropping,
We was talking. Who you think? You said Uncle Bo and them learned how to cook stew and barbecue, cause I remember Pawpaw. Pawpaw, which was my daddy's granddaddy and my great granddaddy. He was still alive when I was born. I stayed with Pawpaw when I was little, but I never remember Pawpaw to cook a whole lot either. Pawpaw sold Watkins Liniment and produce. He was a Watkins Liniment dealer. He played the banjo and taught me songs. I think that's the reason I got a little comedian in me now is because of Pawpaw. He was real funny, Pawpaw was. He's always cutting up. But him and my granddaddy, they didn't do a whole lot of cooking, because I guess because Uncle Bo done all of it. And
if we done any cooking, we done
it at Bo's house anyway. I'm sure they was there helping, but Uncle Bo's personality wouldn't let him take no orders from nobody else. Sort of reminds me of my daddy.
I was about to say, y'all all got a little piece of that
We all
sheen.
got a little piece of that in us,
Yeah.
Uncle Bo, if he was doing something, he was in charge of doing it. That was for sure.
He was gonna be the head man on what they do.
So who do you think taught him?
Uncle Bo, that's what I did.
Yeah.
Who you think taught Uncle Bo to cook? Where do you think they learned how to cook?
Well,
You said from your great granddaddy,
my
right?
great granddaddy, which was Otis Jones, everybody called him A.M. also. His initials for his name, Otis Methuselah. And of course, Granny, his wife, my great grandmother, excuse me, she helped him cook too outside. I mean, they done everything together. They even had a grocery store here at one time, and they run the grocery store together for people, out in the county and stuff.
But you think that's where Uncle Bo just watched them doing it and helped them?
Yeah,
just like we kind of helped Uncle Bo do it.
Yeah.
That's how we learn it. And, we, like I said, we don't do it all the same. I remember Uncle Bo putting different stuff in, basically the same thing, but we seasoned it a little different than what Uncle Bo did. Ours is a little bit thicker than what Uncle Bo's was, but of course Uncle Bo sold it for making money. He didn't sell it to eat and enjoy. The thinner the more how thin it was, the more money he could make out of that pot. Which there was a heap of folks he had to share that money with. It wasn't just him. He had a grove of kids, and the rest of them did too. They was all.
And we all ate some of it.
Yeah. And Aunt Lillian, his wife, Uncle Bo's wife, she was an awesome cook. But whatever Aunt Lillian cooked, that's what you ate till it was gone.
Yep.
She fixed vegetable soup. You'd eat it. She'd cook a big old wash pot full of vegetable soup, but you'd eat that soup till it got gone.
You got it.
Dinner and supper. And then she'd make breakfast every morning, but dinner and supper, that's what you'd eat to that. Whatever was in that pot was gone. She wasn't gonna make nothing else till it was gone. But it was good. You didn't mind eating it because it was good food.
We'd go out and go fishing. A bunch of us would get together and go on a fishing trip. And we'd catch a bunch of fish and come back home and clean them. And if we caught any catfish at all, Uncle Bo loved catfish. He would have her fry him some catfish and make gravy and make biscuits and have a slice of cantaloupe. And that was our breakfast. Didn't make no difference what time of day it was.
Yeah, there's a lot of times I still do today.
I was about to say, that sounds good.
Yeah, and we still do it today. There's a lot of times we have breakfast for supper, which is good. I like breakfast for supper. Breakfast is my favorite meal. If a big used to be a big breakfast.
And it's less rushed if you can do it for supper.
Yeah,
Ain't nobody got to rush out the door.
That's what my mama used to cook for us every morning when we was coming up. Especially if Daddy was at home, we'd always get breakfast. Daddy was a truck driver most of my life.
Make biscuits every day.
Yeah, she always said they was always bread. And the same way at Uncle Bo's house, and the same way at Papa Nanny's house. They was always, you go to Papa Nanny's house, and there's always either a piece of cornbread or a little biscuit, and there's always, most time there's a piece of fatback or a piece of sausage or red link or something. She had a little,
Whatever they have.
whatever had breakfast, she put it in a little metal bowl. You go out there and open that bowl up and get a biscuit. And, I remember going out there a lot of times and getting me a piece of strychnine or a piece of fatback to eat. They don't make fatback no more, but you can get strychnine now. But back then, you know, fatback didn't have no meat in it. It just fat and skin, but it was good. I'm pretty sure my young'uns would probably turn over in the grave if they had to eat a piece of fatback, but I enjoyed it. Uncle Steve done a lot of cooking, and I think that's where we learned that we could sell and make a whole lot of money at it with Uncle Steve. I believe Uncle Steve taught us the business part of cooking. He loved to do it. Uncle Steve loved to cook. And Uncle Steve was a funny fella. Always carrying on about something.
Had some kind of little old joke.
Always something. Always talking something. But Uncle Steve actually built a pit and a cook shed and everything to make stew and barbecue.
I built a dining room on it where we
Yeah,
go in and
and
sit
sit
down.
down and eat. So he's one, I guess, if there's any credit to showing us how to, sort of like Cledus and Company, trying to make it a business and carry it forward. Uncle Steve taught us more about that than any of them, because he made it a business. It wasn't just a hobby for Uncle Steve. He actually done pretty good and he had good stew and good barbecue. And like I said, he was world famous for chicken in Walton County. You know, I mean, you don't. He said one time, if Colonel Sanders cooked chicken good as he could, he'd have been a general. And that's the truth. I believe it. I mean, because he sure has cooked a heap of chicken for a heap of folks. And we all helped him. You know, anytime we'd have a chance to go help him, and love to. I love to do it. I still love to cook. I love to.
We love to be around the crowd.
Around a crowd, exactly. It ain't no fun doing it by yourself. It's a whole lot more fun when there's a heap of you out there. And I do it now. I still cook chickens for a lot of people. I help cook for a lot of Masonic lodges. I've helped cook for a heap of politicians in Walton County. Churches, anybody that needs cooking, needs somebody to help, I don't mind helping. I enjoy it. But I got that Uncle Bo syndrome, or if I'm there, I'm in charge. I don't take orders from nobody. I'm not good at following orders. And that's probably why me and Daddy, we butt heads a lot when we cook, Jim. Daddy's got his opinions of how he wants it done, and I got mine. And Daddy usually wins out. I don't usually win, but I do try to win. I try a lot of times, but I don't always succeed. But I'd have to give him credit for.
Well, it ain't all on me. It's everybody I learned from. Most
Yeah, but just passing it over, you know. Patience.
Down the line, everybody asks me what kind of recipe do we use.
We don't got one.
They ain't one. Not with ours.
Not wrote down anyway. I mean, there's a recipe. We do it close to the same every time, but there's no set amount of what we put in it.
You know, make it this time, think you're going to have about 70 quarts, and you might wind up with 50. Next time you cook it, use the same thing, it might wind up with 60. You'll never know.
You know, we put the same ingredients. It's just it's never the same amount. That's the biggest. And that's the reason it's so hard to write a recipe, is because, you know, when you cook it, you know, we put pork, beef, and chicken in ours. So, you know, if we put 40 pounds of pork in it at the beginning, it's not going to be 40 pounds when we get done. Time you get the fat off of it and the bones out of it, and same way with the beef, you know, the beef and the chicken, you know.
Get the fat out of it.
Get the fat and the skin off the chicken, and then the fat out of the beef. You know, it's hard to. So when you get it all mixed up in a pot, that's when you don't. The corn and tomatoes, they always change. The tomatoes mostly. The corn hardly ever changes. You got to make 2 or 3 pots to get a lot of corn in it. But a little corn goes a long way.
Yeah, it do.
It don't take a whole lot of corn, and that's what a lot of people use too much corn, and that's the reason that sometimes their stew will make you go to the restroom. And a lot of times that's the reason, because they use a whole lot of corn. That, and some folks use butter, but yeah, corn. So we use about the same amount of corn, unless it's a heap of stew. But the tomatoes and the ketchup always change, because it's just depending on how thick it is and what it looks like.
That also changes the flavor of it.
Yeah, it does. And so you got to compensate with your seasoning. That's the reason we don't say a cup of black pepper or half a cup of salt, because you don't never know. You just got to keep adding, and it's hard to write a recipe down when you add a little bit here and a little bit there. Same way with the barbecue sauce. My wife has wrote kind of a recipe down, but it only makes a small amount. If I make a big amount, it changes too. Same with Daddy's. Daddy's changes when you do that. You just gotta, depends on what you're doing and how much you're doing of it.
Right.
And a lot of times that meat, you could put a little bit more beef than you did the pork, or a little more pork than you had enough beef, and it changes that flavor. So you gotta know how to compensate for that. And that's what Daddy taught me, is trusting your taste. Trusting in your taste. You gotta trust your taste, and know what it's supposed to taste like, but figuring out how to make it taste like that's an art in itself too. And Daddy had the patience to teach me that. Patience was a virtue I was born without. Poor old Abraham. I love him, and he's learned a lot. But most of the time it's because I'm not the most pleasant fella in the world to work with or work for. Especially because I don't explain it well, because I think everybody ought to know what I know, and I got to slow down and remember that everybody don't know how to cook. If it did, Cledus and Company wouldn't be all that popular. I ain't saying it is, but we wouldn't be doing what we're doing if everybody knew how to do this. I want everybody to know how to cook. I'll show you everything I know. I don't have a problem with it. Tell you. I enjoy cooking. I enjoy telling people, how to do it. So, and Daddy's the same way.
Yep.
Always has been. That's what everybody says. I sure wish I could make that stew. Daddy say, well, come on over to the house. I'll show you how to do it.
All you gotta do is show up.
Yeah, come on. We didn't have no choice. I learned to cook stew because I didn't have a choice. We did it, back then. I wouldn't say we was dirt poor, but we was holes in the floor poor. We had wood between us and the dirt, but it wasn't very good wood. But we done it fun.
When I first started selling stew and barbecue for sale to other people to buy, my first quart of stew I ever sold was $4 a quart.
And we've come a long way since that $4 a quart, but we also come a long way how we do it. Used to have to hand grind everything.
Yep.
We had a little video hand grinder. I still got it at the house. It's one of those ancient tools that I hope I never have to use again. I look at it and just cringe, because I was oldest coming up, so I had a heap of grinding to do. And my sisters, I was the only boy, it was all girls, except for me. I'm the oldest. I got 4 sisters, and I guess I got 5. One's kind of adopted, and we call her sister, and she's a sister to me. So they was 5. She was always there, but there was 5 of them, and Daddy's a tough fella, but he ain't gonna make no girl grind no beef. So that was always my job. And my cousin Shane, he helped.
Not unless they want to.
Yeah. Cousins, we always had cousins at the house, and friends. And growing up, there was always a heap of people around when we cooked. So
And we'd feed them all when we got it done.
yeah,
By coming and helping.
yeah. That was your money. You didn't get no money. You just got to eat some stew and barbecue. And chickens, we eat more chickens coming up. That's what I tell everybody. I used to get around the front yard and cluck like a chicken because we ate so much. I thought I was turning into one. But it was good. I mean, I still love chicken. I could eat chicken about every day.
I guarantee that's
Yeah.
about.
A good half piece of chicken, you don't get no better than that if it's cooked right. But it goes back to Daddy and Uncle Steve taught me how to do. Uncle Steve taught me a lot about how to do chickens on a grand scale. Daddy taught me how to cook chickens, but Uncle Steve taught me how to do it on a big scale, cooking more than 30. So